but Dr. John Webster is back with, he dug up and found more birds on more stamps and
And a
more
very
interesting-
large book to be signed.
You call that a book? That's one heck of a paperweight. John Webster, always good to see you. How are you doing on this Friday?
Well, a very good morning, and it's a real pleasure to be here. A very good morning to my sister in Canada, who I think is up early to watch us this morning as well.
Oh, good. So, is she a nice bird?
Yeah, she is. Very dear to my heart.
I figured as much. Look, and she's not on any stamps, is she?
No,
Let's go a discussion about, the collection of stamps that features birds. We have not had any, and correct me if I'm wrong, we haven't had birds featured on stamps pre-independence, have we?
no. After independence, the whole creation of stamps changed quite dramatically.
Mm-hmm.
If you looked at the stamps that occurred prior to independence, they were drawn in a very different way. And the issue that appeared post-independence, the bird definitive issue, which we can see in the top left-hand corner. Actually, all of those are the bird stamps that have been issued pretty well all since independence. As you can see, they're not photographic, but they're very very well created, very colorful. And last week we got close to finishing the definitive series. We have 4 more in that series, which we can quickly move to. The next stamp actually shows the definitive series that was issued on the 7th of August 1979. And the first stamp we're going to deal with this morning is a dollar stamp, which shows the Caribbean Elenia, which is also known as the P. Whittler.
Oh, okay.
And if we can just get it up on the screen there, the P. Whittler is a bird that's very elusive. It's hardly ever seen. It's more heard than seen. People, as we've talked on the show before, often call the gray king bird the P. Whittler, which is incorrect. This is the P. Whittler, and it's sometimes called P. Whistler, as on the stamp it's called P. Whistler.
It whistles a lot? That's why it got its name? Or it makes use...
I'm not quite sure why it got the name P. Whittler or P. Whistler, but yes, it can be heard much more than it can be seen. So if we just move to the next bird, it's the American redstart, also known as the Christmas bird. I have never seen this bird. At the time when these stamps were issued, this bird used to appear. It's a migratory bird from North America. It used to appear somewhat regularly around Christmas time.
Well, that's the
On
Christmas
its
bird,
migration,
yeah.
hence the name Christmas bird. Things have changed, and it no longer seems to frequent our area. Some of the other islands in the Northern Caribbean and other Caribbean islands report it, but we haven't seen the Christmas bird in Barbados for a long time. I have never seen it myself. The $5 stamp features a belted kingfisher, and actually Kimberly should recognize that bird. That's
Yes.
a female
Yes.
in the picture, and on the left is the male. We took Kimberly on a little bird watching
And he's
expedition
actually
last Sunday,
Yeah.
and she watched the kingfishers actually performing. There were 2 females and they were fighting,
Oh, they were fighting.
and there was a male nearby enjoying the performance that the females were giving him. We'll do a little program on the kingfishers in a future program. The $10 stamp actually features the common moorhen known as the red-seal coot. And it's quite a beautiful bird. It has this
That doesn't look anything
horn,
like it on...
like a shield.
No, it doesn't look anything like it on the stamp.
Well, you didn't have a good look at it on Sunday. You saw it literally flying away, unfortunately.
Yes.
We'll have to take you to Graham Hall where it'll actually almost kind of eat out your hand. As we discussed last week, postage changes from time to time, postage rates. And every so often the post office has to issue a new stamp or stamps to fill in. And the next stamp that we'll show is the 55-cent stamp that was issued as an addition to the bird definitive series. And that was issued in September 1981. It shows the American golden plover, also known as the black breast plover locally. However, that name black breast shouldn't really be used because it can confuse with another plover called the black-breasted plover. The stamp shows it in full breeding plumage, and my photograph shows it as we see it here when it started to molt away from the full breeding plumage. It's a very beautiful bird, and the breast is all black when it's in breeding plumage. When we see it here, it's starting to get mottled. Unfortunately, I didn't have a shot really showing it face on. And sometimes they actually run out of particular issues, so they have to do what is called surcharges. And this is a surcharge or overprint that was done on the definitive issue, where they've sent the stamps off locally to a printery, blocked out the value and printed a new value on it. And this appeared in February 1982. And the surcharge, the overprint is called the surcharge. But within a month, they had the correct stamps. And these are the ones that replaced the rather ugly surcharges or overprints. The postage rates obviously had changed, and they suddenly said, well, we need values of this amount, so they changed up the stamp somewhat. The Postal Service finds other ways to make money through a philatelic bureau, and first day covers is an important source of income. Collectors enjoy collecting first day covers, which is a set of stamps placed on an envelope and stamped with the date of issue. And that becomes quite a collective thing for thematic collectors. And the ones we just saw were some of the definitive stamp issues. Something interesting happened on the 7th of August 1979, because they had two sets of first day covers, and it's kind of weird. They had the official definitive issue, but the same stamps were used on these three covers to celebrate the World Wildlife Fund Day. So these were kind of weird, because you have two sets of first day covers using the same stamps that were issued on the 7th of August 1979, but these were specifically for supporting the World Wildlife Fund.
Yeah, but for a collector, though, this kind of devalues.
No, it doesn't really, because people collect. They're thematic collectors who specialize on World Wildlife Fund. And that's worldwide. You have all the countries around the world issuing stamps and first day covers for that. The first of the commemorative series after independence was celebrating, well, the first featuring birds, I should say, was celebrating the bicentenary of the birth of John James Audubon. And I brought this book along. It is a massive book.
That's the same.
As you can see, this is the modern version of John J. Audubon's what is called elephant portfolio. He was quite an ornithologist. He broke all sorts of new things with his illustrations. And the stamp in that issue, I will show you. Let me just quickly flip to this page.
That is a rather large book.
It weighs about 20 pounds. His original book weighed 56 pounds. So this is a miniature. This image here, if we can just get the camera on it. Okay. That is an image used on one of those stamps of the great blue heron. Notice the rather peculiar positioning of the neck. John J. Audubon used a lot of dead birds, I'm told, to illustrate to create his illustrations. Consequently, he was quite a hunter too, and he shot a lot of birds. Many more apparently than were required for his research and drawings. But because he was using dead birds, he often ended up with really weird positions for some of the birds that I just illustrated. So if we could just go back to that slide showing his, if we could go back one set, I illustrated the actual great blue heron in a photograph taken here in Barbados. That's how the great blue heron really looks, not with that rather distorted head, which is kind of weird. However,
okay, so he doesn't really turn in that position to feed him.
I have never seen a great blue heron in that position. But his work is fascinating. He has hundreds of really great images which people collect the prints of. The next stamp issue featuring birds was on the 12th of June 1987, and it's this set for the Capex 87 birds commemorative. It was issued to coincide with the National Philatelic Exhibition in Canada between June the 13th and the 21st of 1987. The birds featured on it quickly are the barn swallow on the left, which is a migratory bird that we do see here. On a visit to Canada in August, I had the privilege and pleasure of seeing them nesting. I'll show some of those pictures in another episode. The 50-cent stamp shows the yellow warbler, and that's a resident here. and it's a very beautiful bird. We see it all the time. The Ottoman shearwater actually is a resident in Barbados, but no one ever sees it. It nests, small quantities nest on a rock off the North Point area, North Coast area, off of cliffs called Bird Rock. And they're basically nighttime birds. They go out at night to feed, they come back in the early hours of the morning, they leave in the dusk, in the early hours of the night. So you hardly ever see them.
Oh, interesting.
The black-whiskered vireo on the 75-cent stamp, that's a local bird. Once again, a bird that's not often seen, heard but not often seen. And then the scarlet tanager is on the dollar stamp, and that's a migratory bird, which a few of them come throughout the year. I've never had the privilege of seeing one in Barbados. If we go to the next issue, I consider this one of the most beautiful issues of the Barbados Postal Service. It is the World Wildlife Fund commemorative issue for the 4th of March 1991, and it shows the yellow warbler in its life history, basically. You have the male with the red cap, you have the male and the female feeding their chicks, a female feeding chicks again, and then the male bringing food to one of the fledglings. Undoubtedly one of the prettiest, most attractive issues that we've had in Barbados. In 1994, Migratory Birds of Barbados issue came out. It was issued to coincide with the Hong Kong 1994 National Stamp Exhibition. And it featured the Wimbrel. I show a picture of the Wimbrel, which is known as the crookbill, the American golden plover, and the ruddy turnstone. The fourth bird featured is the tricolored heron. I have never seen one of those in Barbados. Unfortunately, they do come here, but I've not been fortunate enough to see one yet. And they issued a very attractive first day cover for that issue as well, showing a pair of ruddy turnstones in flight, if you can just get that on the screen. That is the Migratory Birds issue for February 1994. Once again, World Wildlife Fund commemorative issue in 1999. As you can see, World Wildlife takes a focal point in featuring birds on stamps of Barbados.
Well, at this point, we're going to pause for a cause and take our first traffic report of the morning. This is quite an interesting view, and since we're talking about migratory birds featured on our stamps of various stamp collectors issue, we last focused on the migratory birds for first day cover February 1994. And what about the piping? Is it piping or pipping?
Piping
plover.
The piping plover is a highly endangered species. Changes the habitat, they nest on beaches. People have tended to drive, not in Barbados, in North America, people have tended to drive their ATVs and SUVs and whatnot on beach areas and threaten them. So that's banned in most places. No. It's a bird that does not really visit Barbados. There's only one record of it ever visiting Barbados in the book Birds of Barbados. However, it was featured here because it's such a highly endangered species. It's a cute little plover. And this particular issue showed the life cycle, basically. It showed the male, the female, the eggs, and the young. And something has amused you, Doug. What's got you tickled there?
Well, you called it cute. You know.
The last stamp issue that we're going to deal with this morning, I've found two other miscellaneous postage stamps that feature the ruby-throated hummingbird. It's kind of curious because the ruby-throated hummingbird has never been recorded for Barbados. I'm not quite sure why the artist put them there. Mm-hmm. However, there's one, and if we can just bring that slide up, there's one stamp that was a Christmas stamp issued in 1984. Mm-hmm. And it shows the flowers, which tend to be supposedly Christmas. These are Tacoma stands, and unfortunately I do not associate that with Christmas as a horticulturist. That flowers all year round. So I'm a little critical of that. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, I don't seem to be able to get that slide up. The other stamp was a commemorative set issued in 1998 featuring the 50th anniversary of the University of West Indies, and they had a little ruby-throated hummingbird. There it is, flying across the face of the stamp. Pretty. I guess it was designed to capture the interests of thematic collectors, but not quite correct, really and truly, for Barbados.
For budding bird watchers, though, Dr. John Webster, talk to us about the reporting system. What happens? Do you submit a report every year to an organization saying that I saw these birds, and there's someone in Grenada or 10 people in Tobago? How does that system work?
Well, there's actually an online bird reporting system called eBird, and I had the pleasure of meeting Jeff Gerbach, I think his name is, a very nice gentleman at the conference in Grenada who basically manages it. You sign on to the system and you report the species. There's a tabulated list. You can tick off what you saw and the quantities. You make comments.
Well, don't you have to photograph the bird and submit it as having seen it?
If it is a unexpected or rare species, they'd like to have photographs attached. I'm still trying to work out how to attach your photographs to it, however. So Jeff, if you are watching by any chance, you need to make that system easier. And then we have the annual bird count that we do, where we go around one day around Christmas time doing a full check. We have our outtake here this morning that we're going to end on, and this Kimberly should be quite familiar with.
Yes, indeed.
When we were bird watching on Sunday, we happened to see this osprey fly overhead. A beautiful large bird. Unfortunately, we never actually saw him fishing for his fish, but that was Kimberly's highlight of the day.
Kimberly saw the big bird.
Yes, indeed.
Wonderful.
And there's more to see, of course, on Breakfast with the Birds. You just got to be here on Friday mornings. Of course, we want to thank you, Dr. John Webster, for sharing all that there is to know about the birds. It's time now for that nice tip.